All right, I'm going to do example 3 now. Similar to my last video, I understand that my denominators are not the same and I need to make them the same. So I need to find the least common multiple of the denominators, which is what we call the least common denominator. To do that, though, we need to factor. So let's factor these. The top, we don't need to factor the tops. It might help in some cases, but not to find the least common denominator here. So just leave that as x. The bottom here, we can take out a greatest common factor of 6. And when we do that, we're left with an x plus 4 down here. Okay? And then we've got plus. Let's leave this numerator as x plus 2. We need to factor the denominator. This factors to x plus 5 and an x plus 4. I'm going to assume from now on that you're comfortable with factoring. If not, come see me and we'll talk. Okay, so now we look at it and we say, okay, well, there's a 6. There's no other coefficient over here, so we need a 6 in our denominator. We also need an x plus 4. Moving on. We need an x plus 5. And an x plus 4, which we already have. So that accounts for all of those. That's nice. Okay, now we need to look at our first fraction over here and decide, well, what is our denominator missing from our least common denominator? We've got the 6, we've got the x plus 4, but we need the x plus 5. So we're going to multiply the denominator by an x plus 5. However, we also need that x plus 5 in the numerator as well. So that's nice. Beautiful. Most beautiful thing you've seen. Okay, second fraction. We've got an x plus 5. We've got the x plus 4. What we're missing is the 6. So we need to multiply the numerator and the denominator by a 6. In my opinion, hardest part is already done. Now what we need to do is multiply through. So we've got an x times an x plus 5 divided by our least common denominator, which is 6 times x plus 4 times x plus 5. Here's a key thing. If the denominators don't match your least common denominator, you've done something wrong. Fun fact. Okay, moving on. Plus 6 times x plus 2. Here's how I'm going to write it, just like I said it. 6 times x plus 2 divided by 6 times x plus 4 times x plus 5. Great, beautiful, awesome. Okay. Now, because our denominators are the same, I combine them into all one fraction. So I can write it as x times x plus 5 plus 6 times x plus 2. I divide it by our denominator, which is 6 times x plus 4 times x plus 5. Okay, so now we've added, but now we need to simplify. Okay, so we need to distribute here. X times x is just an x squared. X times 5 is a plus 5x. 6 times x is a plus 6x. And a 6 times a 2 is a plus 12. All divided by our denominator, which is 6 times x plus 4 times x plus 5. Fantastic. Moving on. Now we combine like terms. So we keep the x squared the same. We can combine the 5x and the 6x to be a plus 11x. And then we keep the plus 12 over there. All divided by 6 times x plus 4 times x plus 5. And here, this is where we have to ask ourselves, does this factor? Well, let's think about this. So we need to multiply to 12 and add to 11. The factors of 12 are 12 and 1. And if we had a negative 1, we could get to an 11x. But because this is a positive 12, we know that we can't have a negative anywhere unless they're both negative, and that doesn't work. So 12 and 1 don't work. We've also got 6 and 2. Well, any combination of 6 and 2 will not get us to 11 by adding. And we've also got 3 and 4. And same thing here. A combination of 3 and 4 won't get us to 11. So we can't factor. That means that we are completely done. There's nothing that we can cancel. But we do need to make our restrictions. So this is when we set each factor in the denominator equal to 0. When you got 6 equal to 0, that doesn't matter. That'll never happen. You've got x plus 4 equal to 0, so x cannot be negative 4. And then we've got an x plus 5 equals 0, so x cannot equal negative 5. Those are your two restrictions. There it is, example 3 in all of its glory. Tell your friends. Great.